Ghost of Tabor's, Contractors, and Vail. What do those three have in common? Some nigga on the internet with the most scuffed setup on the face of the planet telling you the differences between these three Extraction VR games. I'm going to let you know right now, the only reason I'm in this scuffed setup is one, I'm home for the holidays, and two, I already filmed this, but given I had the most horrendous looking setup, not even horrendous looking setup, but like the fact that my shit looks so scuffed because the focus was not on the entire video. So you see for about 70% of the video, I was just completely unfocused and just yapping away. Granted, I could have cut the video and, cut this and not done this entire thing. But a part of me was so bitter about how it ended up looking, I just decided to refilm the whole thing. Fuck it. But I'm home for the holidays, so there's that. But the thing that all three of these titles have in common is that they are the one, the only, and the very few VR extraction shooters. And I just want to immediately clarify right out of the way before anybody asks and says like, oh, well, what about Reeve? It says extraction shooters. Read the fucking title, you dumb bitch. All right, let me calm down. Let me calm down real quick, all right? A lot's been happening. Reeve, for example, is a dungeon crawler extraction. It's not an extraction shooter. There's no guns. I guess you could technically count the crossbow as a shooter, but you know what I mean. The extraction shooter genre is a very popular type of genre popping up in a lot of games as of right now, especially in the flat screen industry. And since VR tends to follow a lot of the flat screen trends, of course it's going to appear in VR. But now we're at a point, since Ghost of Tabor and Contractors Exfil, we're now at a point where Vail has actually released their new extraction game just about a couple weeks back, and we have a variety to actually choose from. So I sat and played all three of them in just about one sitting, just so I can tell you which one's the best. I say just about one sitting, but I have had my hours in each of these games, except for Vail. I've had my hours in regular Vail. I haven't had my hours considerably in the extraction shooter that just came out. So after sitting and actually playing Contractors, Ghost of Tabor, and Vail Extraction, and putting a decent amount of time into each and every single run, these are the few of the points that stand out to me in my opinion, and what I think these games actually offer in store. And even though they are all extraction shooters, these each play out very, very differently in comparison to their other counterparts. So for this video, I'll be talking about some of the gameplay, a brief history behind some of these games, as well as just what they have to offer overall, and the overall experience I had playing with each of these. Now, this isn't the first time I've talked about some sort of VR extraction shooter, but I'm damn well gonna do it again. I feel like to get started, the first one that we should just talk about overall is Ghost of Tabor. And the reason why is because it's been the most prominent one on my channel. There's currently a series on it as of right now, but I've been seeing a lot of the comments that you guys have left has been talking about jumping on Contractors. Now, between the two games, Contractors, and I'm looping in Contractors multiplayer as well as Exfil and the Battle Royale, has technically had more hours than Ghost of Tabor, I think. I could be wrong about that. I put a considerable amount of hours into the Contractors franchise overall, but Ghost of Tabor's Extraction has the most hours in comparison to all the other extractions. Now, this was the first extraction shooter, obviously heavily modeled after Escape from Tarkov, and taking massive inspiration and making waves for the VR scene. Now, it's done a lot over the last 2 years, which 2 years. Oh my god, I'm old. So considering the fact that it has been 2 years, this has been given a considerable amount of time to cook in the scene, as well as like refine any sort of jank, any sort of bugs, and all the stuff that people might have complained about in their initial release. In saying that, it's only fair that Ghost of Tabor tends to get the most amount of criticism or the most amount of critiquing because they've had so long to fix things. Overall, I feel like the core gameplay loop is pretty good. You still have the typical loot, kill, survive extraction shooter, but then they also have, backed by upgrading your hideout, upgrading your weapons, actually having tasks to upgrade your vendors and have access to a lot more. The one thing I'm still kind of annoyed about, and I don't know if there's been word on it yet, realistically I probably should have done my research on this, but regardless, the flea market has been teased for the last like 2 years, and I don't think there's been anything on it. Either that or I just haven't leveled up enough to be able to access it, and I don't know. I feel like there'd be a lot more. The flea market is something that they teased 2 years ago, and I still don't really, let's just search it right now. Ghost. Oh my god! Oh, the lighting! When I tell you this setup is scuffed, okay. I'm so happy about this microphone, by the way, because I'm not gonna lie to you. This setup, y'all. This setup is so bad. But this is literally a trash can next to me as of right. So far, we have my laptop right here. You want to know what I'm using for lighting? You want to know what I'm using for lighting? I'm using a lamp that I just put a calendar over, so I have it diffused and not just light the. I'm sorry for revealing you guys to the sun just now. Yeah, the concentrated power of the sun is not to be played with. Shout out to Starin.
Looking up Reddit, this isn't with much research back behind it, but apparently Flea Market was scrapped months ago. They already stated that it will never come, and instead we'll go get a different kind of economy. Where's my microphone? It was in the lamp. My microphone was in the lamp. Apparently they actually scrapped the free. Apparently they actually scrapped the flea market. Yikes. Let me just double check. Okay, it's looking like, yeah, there's no flea market and it's just going to be a player-driven economy, which is unfortunate. So, I mean, I guess that teaser is there forever. I don't know if that is completely canceled, then I don't know why they didn't just take it out of the map. All right, given 2 years, there hasn't been necessarily much progress on stuff like that, but this does have a lot of depth to it regardless, with being able to have your own Bitcoin farm along the lines of that, a bunch of storage, and your armory with different types of weapon customizability. That's the word, right? Now, this game has grown overall in terms of its player count, in terms of its maps, in terms of the DLCs that it's offered. And I'm glad that a lot of the maps that have come out aren't necessarily DLCs, but the only things that are technically paid for are just like cosmetics, and I think maybe a few weapon customizations. I don't know specifically if the weapons that come out with DLCs are technically better, so maybe they're taking out a bit of a pay to win aspect. I don't feel like they are, because I feel like still a lot of the weapons that are just given in the base version are still pretty decent, and they are not like super comparable to what's there or to what's paid for. Now, the one thing I kind of have an issue with, and it's kind of going to span across all three of these games, the AI. The AI has been up and down all over the place, where they've been relatively stupid for a lot of these. And I know it's hard to be able to generate like really engaging, immersive AI, so I'm not necessarily the one to comment on that, but it feels like a lot of the time it went from like super easy and super stupid to absolute quick scoping, phase clan, next level, batshit crazy AI that would just snipe you with a pistol in the head from 100 meters. And they've leveled it back down to like a decent playability. But I wish that the AI, especially since they've had so much time to cook over the last 2 years, maybe like prioritize cover a little bit more. I still feel like they either stand in the open trying to one-hand a two-armed weapon, or they just beeline it for you. I think the thing that makes like Tarkov, and granted these games have had a considerable more like longer amount of time to be able to cook, as well as they're probably easier to be able to code rather than VR AI. I don't know. I'm not a game developer. I'm just a chronic yapper on the internet. Seeing games like the Beyond 2 sandbox so far, if everything is up to par with what they've been advertising, we've seen now AI that prioritizes cover, that prioritizes tactics and stuff like that. So it would be cool to kind of see that interactive element in a couple of these other games that have had a decent amount of time to develop now. Yet I feel like out of all the extraction shooters, Tabor is the one where the players really shine. Now, granted, over time, I haven't encountered that many players anymore, but initially when this launched, I feel like a lot of people were talkative, and I feel like you could get a lot of clips out of Tabor, just generally speaking, for the content creators, because people like to converse, which I think overall was a pretty dope element. Along with this, I want to talk a bit about the gunplay. The guns feel pretty good in this when you're actually in the midst of using them. It's just everything around the actual pointing and shooting I don't necessarily like. The game feels janky in a lot of areas. I noticed that it feels like you have butterfingers, and this might be an issue for my controller overall, or maybe a skill issue on my part, but it feels like you just drop shit very easily. Although I like how you can organize stuff in the backpack by actually being able to play Jenga within the space given in your backpack, I feel like a lot of the backpack interaction does glitch. And I feel like it's at the point where people have the rose-colored glasses off on this game because it's been out for so long, but there's still a lot of issues that have been yet to refine. Overall, this game has a lot of depth, a lot of cool weapon customization, a lot of opportunities, and a lot of cool just in-game shit to be able to do. This game has a lot of longevity. It just doesn't feel as polished or as smooth as some of the other games that we're going to be talking about today. And that's where I want to jump into Vail. Now, first off, I think we should just start off by saying Vail Extraction's free. Vail in general is free, which I gotta give credit to, and I know that they've had their ups and downs in terms of what's free, what's not free, how the game's been overall, but this game was made with the initial thought of being a competitive shooter, and you can actually feel it within the game, and that carries over well into the extraction as well. Now, although Vail's gameplay, and I played it a decent amount, isn't to my personal liking, I can see where a lot of people might fuck with this type of game, and would be willing to try out the extraction. Now we got to give it a bit of grace because this did come out in alpha a few weeks ago, so there hasn't been much to it, so we probably won't harper too long on this. I feel like I almost said battle royale, what the fuck? I feel like the extraction shooter brings out how good the core gameplay is of Vail. The guns feel crisp. They have a good amount of interaction with each other, I guess I could say. If you can do crazy shit with them, you can do crazy shit with them too. Like, you really get the free range to be able to fuck around with the weapons in this game. Now, because it's new, this is where I encountered the most amount of players, and I tried to be nice at first, and then I ended up getting me killed, and then I got salty, and then I started killing people. Is what it is. Typical extraction shooter at this point. Now, take out everything basically that you know about typical extraction shooters. This is very bare bones because there's no like vault or anything along the lines of that. There's no crazy amount of weapon customization, or sorry, interactive weapon customization. For now, it's just you open up a menu, you pick the backpack, healing items, guns, attachments that you all use off of one menu, and then you just load into a lobby real quick, which takes about like 5 seconds. It's the fastest loading time so far, probably because it's the newest. Hopefully it stays that way in terms of just like fast loading times, being able to create lobbies quickly, but that's probably because it's the newest. Now, this might be to my personal fault. Why is there so much of the roof? I know that made no sense, but a part of me is just like, there's so much empty space up here. Let me just lower that so then you can actually see me, right? Well, I mean, I'm talking as if I wasn't in the bulk of the camera. Whatever. Let's talk about AI. The AI in Vail is very fucking stupid. I wish that it was a little bit better. Now, once again, that could just because it's like in alpha, so it is what it is. But the AI is just drones that fly in like predetermined patterns that make a beeline for you whenever you alert their attention. Now, when I say make a beeline for you, they hunt you and they don't fucking stop until they get you or die. It's one of the two. It's either you or them. I shot a drone at some point and then ended up running off into a building at least like a kilometer away, and I could just hear the dinging slowly getting closer. It almost feels like similar to that one Snail and Deadly Delivery, which is based off the whole like dare of you get $1 million, but a snail will like follow you for the rest of its life, and as soon as it touches you, you're dead. It almost feels like that, except just the snail ain't shit. I don't know. I just wish that they upped the AI a little bit more, just because the player interaction, the player fights in Vail feel really, really solid. Everything around it doesn't feel that great right now. I haven't personally checked myself, but there might be a ton coming down in some sort of roadmap. Realistically, I should just be tracking the shit before I let me just Vail extraction road map. Okay, this just came out a month ago. So far I'm not seeing a roadmap. Whatever. So it would be cool to see, what plans they have down the line, whether or not you're gonna have like an actual base of operations, whether or not you're gonna be going for missions. But as of right now, at least what I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, please, is just you go in, loot, kill, survive. And actually going into the raid as of right now is pretty bare bone. You go and collect a few items that I don't necessarily know have specific uses other than just selling shit, which you can eventually upgrade to get bigger shields, bigger guns, higher caliber rounds, which is pretty dope as well. I didn't think that would be in there yet, but that's dope. And just overall, kick more ass in a raid. It's very much the same cycle, but just like with the typical Vail gameplay to kind of enhance things. But there's probably a ton more down the line considering the fact that it's in alpha and only just came out. I'll probably put the date of release here or some shit, because I'm gonna say a couple weeks, and knowing me, it might be a couple months at this. Well, actually, no, this should come out tomorrow. Yeah, I'm kind of in a rush in this video. I'm fucked. Now that we're done with Vail, we definitely have to talk about Contractors, which I feel like has been the most talked about. And I don't know whether or not, in terms of content creators, is like the biggest VR. Why did I almost say MMORPG? What is happening with my brain right now? I feel like this looks like a parent style YouTube video because of the fact that it's just like super scuff setup and just like I'm just chilling with the fuck. I'm filming on an iPad, bro. This shit's rough. But you can't tell me that I don't love this shit, bro. I just gotta tell you, like, I tried filming because the old mic that I had is a Blue Yeti. I don't have a stand for this shit. I gotta put my Blue Yeti in a, I'm not advertising that shit. I don't know why I try to speak in the Yeti microphone as if this works, because this doesn't work. Yeah, this is from that one Twitch clip like 4 years ago or some shit where I fucking spilled candle wax, but it ends up looking like a cum stain on my microphone. This is that microphone. I gotta put it in a cup, bro, because I don't even have a stand for this anymore. Granted, this was probably tied up in the trash somewhere because I don't use this microphone anymore. But like, this is the step is as of right now, bro. My shit's in a cup, and it sounds horrible. It sounds way worse than I remember. I'm getting so sidetracked right now. Contractors Showdown Exfil. Now, easily basically, the order that we've been talking about the games is like the smoothness of each of it, I guess. This has to be the smoothest flowing, one of the smoothest flowing VR shooters just I've played so far. For me, I really like the Pavlov type of gunplay, and it has like sentiments of that while feeling a little more arcadey as opposed to like CSGO-y. Contractors overall, and this is not a new thing, is basically the Call of Duty of VR, but like without being shit. Hopefully for a few more iterations, maybe they don't water it down or beat a dead horse for nearly as long as COD is. That's besides the point. This feels good. And obviously it makes sense that this is the smoothest game because they've been having a lot of assets where they've smoothly transitioned from the multiplayer to the battle royale and now to the Exfil game type. So technically, even though Exfil is the newest iteration of their game, they've had years to really be able to cook with this. That being said, this to me has some of the strongest gameplay elements and a decent amount of longevity. So it still has that Tarkov/Tabor feel in terms of depth because there's still quests, there's still upgrading your hideout, there's still upgrading guns and all sorts of things that you can do. Along with that, this is the only game that actually has you doing scav runs, which I think is a fucking fantastic feature. And I'm saying a fantastic feature as if it's a brand new thing. I don't know why the other games don't have that. Understandable for real, they may not have that yet. Now, if you want a sense of more realism, Ghost of Tabor would be the one that you go for. And Contractors does have that realism, but there is a slight sense of arcadiness in it.
So this is kind of my first day as a scav. I'm kind of nervous, I'm not gonna lie, but it's cool to be on patrol with you. I appreciate you taking me under your wing and helping me just like shadow you. So like, what's our first order of business? What's our first order of business? What's our first order of business? Oh, it's fucking rude. What's our first order of business? What do we do? How do we set this business? I'm so lost. Do we just? Your hand is going through a rifle. Okay. I guess I just get to walk around and loot shit.
And I also don't know why this is the only first-person shooter that I know that actually has two different running like sprinting animations. Like you have the typical one where your gun is down, but then you also have the one where you can keep your gun up and run similar to like PUBG style when you're holding an SMG. I don't know why more games don't have that overall. That's just dope to have. It feels like it just gives more versatility and immersiveness to the player. Like just add more sprint positions in a lot of these games. I don't know why you're not doing that. You're limiting yourself. Stop it. Stop it right now. They keep on updating and refining the game to have new features, and it's like it feels like it's in a good place right now where they don't need to focus so much on fixing the gameplay because they've had this gameplay basically copied and pasted throughout their several series in a good way. I'm not trying to say like copied and pasted as if they're being lazy, but they found a formula that works that doesn't necessarily need to be reinvented as of yet because there isn't 87 different iterations of the exact same shit like Call of Duty. But they found a gameplay that works, and now they're tailoring that gameplay to specific game types that are very popular as of right now. And it's funny because throughout this series that I've been doing on Ghost of Tabor, I've been seeing a lot of your comments talking about Contractors Exfil. I play that game just offline. And a part of me has really debated whether or not I should start, I must have streaming. I should start making videos based on Contractors, flip-flopping between the games, because I think both of them have something pretty cool to offer and relatively different and could be entertaining content-wise. Let me know down in the comments. I'm not necessarily certain. I'm just going to keep on yapping about it. But I have nothing other than to sing praises for this game because it brings such a genuinely good feel to first-person shooters and such a refreshing feel to the extraction shooters. It actually feels fully completed both gameplay-wise as well as just longevity and the shit to do in it. I need better controllers. Now, the AI in this game also has hints of that stupidity and jankiness when I'm talking about like one-arming a gun like your Han Solo, some shit like that, just right in the open and not necessarily prioritizing cover. But at the same time, it almost feels like both Vail and Tabor's AIs or scavs or just AI threats are spread out enough to the point where it doesn't necessarily feel overwhelming. Contractors feels like they have concentrated focus groups in specific areas. You get like the areas where you might run across a scav or two, but then sometimes you run into an area where there's like 5 scavs and you can get fucked up really quickly, so it actually feels like there's a decent challenge here. Also, they don't really headshot you, like one tap you out of pure luck out of nowhere, so we can dodge that bullshit element. So they feel the best, but they are still pretty stupid. There was one point where I was running along a highway and I killed one scav, kept on running, killed another scav, and things were going pretty smoothly. And I was between a road to an entire building complex as well as a motel to my left. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I'll start going to that building complex. Ended up having one scav show up, a second scav show up, and a third scav show up that started shooting me. So I made a beeline for the motel. Tried to hide behind a tree while I was in the middle of suppressing fire, and then all of a sudden, 2 more scavs from the motel come out because I guess they heard gunshots, and like it's fucking Apex Legends, they decided a third party. Except there wasn't a third party; it was just me getting my ass whooped. But it actually felt like there was a significant amount of threat coming with the scavs, because even though they might not be the smartest, sometimes they'll stack up in numbers, which does pose a significant threat. So it feels like the players and the scavs equally can fuck me up in comparison to the other extraction shooters. Now, Contractors has been out for a number of years technically, and I think Exfil maybe a year at this point. But what they've done with the amount of time that they have had felt pretty proactive in terms of their updates and what they've been pumping out, which is great. If I had to give one recommendation to anybody playing it, even though you have to pay for it, I would probably point them towards Contractors, because it does have that mix of an arcadey feel, but also a sense of realism. Plus, it's tied in with a battle royale. I wish all 3 games could be tied together, but it is what it is. It's cool to have a battle royale and to have an extraction shoot at the same time. You get 2 games in one. But overall, all 3 of these games are fun. They all have their own significant things that they bring, and I think overall can just be a pretty good experience for anybody to play. And even though they're in the same genre, it still feels almost completely different to be able to jump into all 3 of these. And I don't get that feeling as much in, well, I can't say in flat screen shooters, because for a while it felt like a lot of the battle royales or the extraction shooters were pretty damn similar, until like Arc Raiders, for example. That put a good enough spin to be able to make me want to play more than one. I say more than one as if I give a fuck about Tarkov. Fuck that game in particular. Fuck that game. I put too many hours into it. It pisses me off. I got a vendetta against Tarkov, all right? I played the shit out of it, but miserable. Straight up miserable. But it almost feels like in VR, there's a lot more innovation in terms of the types of games that they're playing or the games that they're making, even if it's within the same genre. So all 3 of these games as of right now feel like their own thing. Basically to the point where the only similarity is the fact that they just share the same genre title. Regardless though, if you have the time and the money, get all 3, see for yourself, put in a few hours. If you don't fuck with any of them, return them. I guess maybe not Vail because it's free. I don't know if I can get this all edited before tonight or tomorrow. If you're seeing this video, I did it. Don't tell me I don't love YouTube. Get me to 10K, motherfucker. I love you. Okay, it's actually kind of fucking wild that we're almost 10,000 people. Jesus Christ. Hey, I know it's small for some people, but like that's just crazy to me. So good shit. If you like this video, please like, comment, leave.